It's Sue with Capstone Leadership Solutions, coming to you today on the topic of communication, and in particular, communication you can count on. So, wow, I've been traveling about the state of Wisconsin this week, working at a couple partner organizations and at our nursing bundle boot camp yesterday. And it's so timely. Like last week when I set up this event on this topic, it just affirmed to me in the conversations that I had with employees in particular, how important this topic is for employees in workplaces and leaders alike. So I'm glad we're tackling it here today. What's the struggle with communication? I mean, it is a struggle. I mean, employees will often say that, communication, they don't get enough. It's not timely. It feels like they're out of the loop. Leaders, struggle with it, saying, wow, it seems like I'm communicating, yet people don't know. So both the sender and the receiver feels like there's a struggle here. And it's something that we assess on employee surveys. It's something we assess in employee focus groups, leader focus groups, etc. It seems like communication is one of those things that we can always do something to improve. And so hopefully some tips today will help you kind of think about maybe how to go about approaching communication a little bit differently and hopefully better, okay? So, also some of the struggle, just to kind of key up why we should even think about new ways of doing this is that, most of the organizations we work with are 24/7, 365, right? So, if you're a leader in a department and you need to communicate something to all your employees, it's not like they're right there with you most of the time. So with personal communication, and even the volume of staff doesn't often make it, so that one-on-one personal communication is the way to communicate effectively. So we have that 24/7, 365 aspect to most of the organizations that we do our work with. Also, there's all these generational preferences, right? So different generations, like to receive information in different ways or different channels through different channels. So we've got the diversity of that. So we got the 24/7, 365. We've got the generational differences and preferences, and just really the volume of information that needs to be communicated can be challenging. So we got volume, we've got staff over 24 hours, 365, and we've got generational preferences to deal with. One of the things that I heard loud and clear this week, which really is kind of one of the main messages I wanted to bring about is, related to communication we can count on, is the idea of consistency, okay? Consistency. And what I mean by that is consistency in the cadence or the timing of communication, consistency in the channel we use, the method that we use, and then consistency in our content. So taking our content and having a consistent plan for when it'll be communicated and what channel it'll be communicated in. So, a lot of times, again, when leaders are challenged with the volume of staff over 24/7, 365, and the volume of things to communicate, when it comes top of mind to them, they might just shoot it out. They might shoot it out in an email and, oh, it's top of mind right now, I'm going to shoot it out in an email, or I'm going to post this in the bathroom, or I'm going to post it. It's top of mind, we just shoot it out, and we're not really intentional or thinking about when we should put it out or have a consistent rhythm to that and what channel we should put it out in. So if you're a receiver, let's say an employee getting communications from your leader, it's coming at you in all these different directions through all these different channels at different day and night, and in all these different ways. So that can be very fatiguing. So it gets fatiguing for the receivers of information, and it gets frustrating for the sender of information because they're like, why isn't anyone hearing me? Why don't they know about this? I sent it out, whatever. Or maybe we send it out 5 different ways because we can't trust one of the channels. So now we've got messages going out, blasting in many, many channels just because as the sender, we can't trust the receiver to get it. And now the receiver can't trust when messages are coming and how they're coming because we don't have a plan and it's inconsistent. So that the real message today to get to communication we can trust and count on is to have a plan that really speaks to consistency of what channels we're going to use, what frequencies we're going to use, that cadence, and what content is going to go into each of those channels, okay? So I want you to think about it like this. Think about daily, okay? What are things that are important to communicate daily? It's not everything, right? There's certain things that likely need to be reported daily. Okay, so if we have a consistent channel for being able to communicate things that we need to know daily to go about our work and be set up for success, then we need to have a consistent channel to do that and a rhythm to do that. So an example with that might be in the organization-wide scale, a daily safety huddle, right? There's very specific content that is, consistent content. Look back, look forward, related to safety concern, consistent content, one channel, a huddle, right? The cadence to it is at this time and place, right? So that cadence is something we can count on. Before we had a daily safety huddle, safety things were communicated through multiple channels, many different ways, and wasn't as effective as having that consistency that we can count on, right? And so same thing in your department. So it might be a daily huddle, shift huddle, start of the huddle, to communicate things we need to know to be set up for success for our shift or our day. So that daily huddle, and being consistent about what's the content of that huddle, the consistency of it's a huddle, it's at this place and time, right? So now we can count on it. When the absence of that, we have to have all these other ways maybe, or multiple ways are being used, and things can get missed. It could also be an example of food and nutrition department. They didn't have a huddle because they had people coming in at different times during the day. So they had actually a communication board that was designated for things you needed to know before you started your shift, right? So things that would set you up for success for your day and your shift. We're out of turkey, we're substituting chicken today. Don't go looking for the turkey, we're substituting chicken today on the menu, right? So there was a board that communicated that, and when you came on the shift, it became a regular communication cadence that you knew, that you looked at that board and you could count on things you needed to know to set you up for your success for your day. So think about that. So create a plan. Maybe there isn't stuff in your world that needs to be communicated daily, that it's so important that people need to know daily. So maybe you don't have a cadence of daily communication, but think about it. What's the channel? Is it a huddle? Is it a communication board? What is it? What's the channel? What's the content that's necessary? And, let's be consistent with what kind of things are talked about there or communicated there. So it's not potpourri. It's consistent. We can count on what's going to be communicated and talked about there, and when is it, okay? So really being consistent with the cadence, when it is, how often it is, what's the content, and what's the channel. And now, as the sender of information, receiver of information, that struggle goes down through consistency in the plan, and the plan becomes the promise, okay? So we can do this same with thinking about weekly things, okay? What are things that need to be maybe communicated not daily, but weekly? And sometimes I challenge leaders to say, what is the stuff you're putting on your staff meeting agendas that might be monthly? And the likelihood is a lot of those things are untimely if you hold them for monthly communications, right? And I don't often see too many departments having great attendance and participation at monthly staff meetings, especially if they're informational. And then got to put out minutes for all the people that missed, and that becomes a second channel. So the meeting is one channel, the minutes are a second channel. So anyway, we probably need to think about what we're on our staff meeting agendas that are informational, and think about, can we get a regular cadence of weekly informational things out that need to be communicated to our staff? Maybe it's a policy change. Maybe it's, something's wrong with the equipment and there's a fix. Maybe it's a training. Maybe it's, whatever. Think about those things and think about, can we get a weekly cadence of that gets that information out timely to our staff. So when I was on site at one of our partners this week and I was meeting with some staff, and I was, talking to them about, communication in their workplace and how their leaders communicate with them and, what's working well, what's not. And those employees that worked for leaders that had a weekly cadence of every Friday, my leader puts out a communication that includes important information that we need to know about upcoming trainings or equipment or things like that, just all sorts of really relevant stuff, changes that are coming, etc. And we can count on it. Every single Friday we're going to get that, and we really feel in the know. And then some of those other employees in the room where their leaders didn't do that, they're like, wow, I wish my leader would do that. Like, that would really be good for us too. Maybe my leader will start doing that, right? So the employees that had something like that really talked to how good that was for their department, and those that didn't have that are like, wow, I really want that. So think about those weekly things. Some leaders do it through a blog, some do it through an email, some do it through, but you got to pick the channel. What is the channel? And then stay consistent with the channel so that you can count on it, plan for it, and they can count on it. Again, the plan becomes the promise, okay? So what are those weekly things? That can be done on an organization-wide level too. We like to mention that one of our partner CEOs, Michelle in Sullivan, she does Franklin 5, Friday 5, where every Friday as the CEO, she's updating the entire organization on those strategies of the organization. What happened this past week, what was accomplished, what's coming up next week, and it really keeps everybody in the know, and they can count on it, right? Then think about monthly cadence. What are those things that need to be communicated monthly? Maybe you have some improvement goals, things that you're working on, and you have updates to the plans, or you have updates on the results and how things are going with those changes. So think about the kind of things that need to be communicated monthly and have that consistency of it's monthly. Not just say I'm going to do it once a month, but it's always on the first of the month. It's always on the first Monday of the month or whatever. Be consistent. So when you say something is weekly or when you say something is monthly, that's not enough. Pick a day, pick a time, pick a channel, be consistent, right? Be consistent. And if you as a leader of a department, if you're a department leader and you get these kind of consistent messages going out through consistent channels, consistent cadence, the content being consistent of what's going through each of those channels, what you're going to find is, for instance, your staff meetings. Now you're like, geez, what are we going to do at staff meetings, right? And I'm not saying get rid of staff meetings. I'm saying turn those in to improvement meetings where you're actually working on stuff. It's not you as a leader just communicating or giving information to your employees. You can do that more timely through these consistent channels throughout your day and weeks. And your monthly staff meetings can now be team meetings where your employees are engaged. They're not being communicated to. It's a dialogue. It's a team working to improve something in your department, accomplish its goals, problem solve together, those kind of things that is great for doing in person, right? Doing in person. So I would really challenge you as, a leader in healthcare, maybe you're an employee on an employee-driven team in healthcare, is think about your messaging and the channels that you're using, the consistency that you have in those channels, in your messaging, and in your timing of those messages and the cadence. And, it is this kind of consistency in communication that builds trust. People can count on it. If you're the sender, you can create a rhythm to be successful with it. If you're the receiver, you know what's coming at you and which direction, when, and now you can be a more, participative, expecting receiver of information instead of just being fatigued by everything coming at you in all these directions in so many different ways at different times. And that's very fatiguing to our workforces and not good for our work cultures. So let's get consistent with communication. Consistency is key. Consistent in channel, consistent in the content, and consistent in our cadence. Okay, there we go, guys. So it's topic like this that are really important to our greatness course. So those of you that are participating or thinking about participating in our greatness course, which is a remote e-learning and coaching course, things like this are the things that we help you with. Is, we have longer trainings on topics like this with more examples, and we actually, work with you and coach you on things like this, many other things too. And so over, a 6-9 month period in the greatness course, we have webinars with lots more examples and content on this. And then we're actually coaching and helping you develop these things. So if you're an individual leader looking to really elevate, your leadership, as well as things like communication and other aspects like that of the culture of your department, the greatness course is something you're probably going to want to check out. Love to be your trainer and coach through that forum. So go to our website, capstoneleadership.net. There's a place there that has some information about our greatness course. If you're a new leader, our new leader e-learning program is also available to you, and that might be the right fit. Sometimes even new leaders, the greatness course might be the better fit. And so we like to talk to you about that. Even if you're a new leader, we might point you in the direction of the greatness course versus the new leader e-learning bootcamp. So give us a call, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about those options. And again, not only do we train through those e-learning courses, we become your personal coaches. You actually get these things up and running and in place in your workplace, okay, to make it yours and make it better. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. And again, capstoneleadership.net is a place to go to check out things like our greatness course, e-learning courses, partnerships, upcoming training events, etc. So check it out there. Thanks. Bye-bye now.